There she is on the big screen. Get your popcorn ready, as she deserves. My girl, Andraya Carter's here. All right, I got a quick take for you. The Aces started their quest for a three-peat yesterday, took care of business against the Storm. A'ja Wilson led all scorers, Drea, 21 points. Tell me what you took away from this game.
Well, Molly, first of all, always great to see you. Always great to be here. But we're looking at the Aces, and they're the two-time champs for a reason. That's what I took away from this game. They start 2 of 18 from the field in the first quarter. A'ja Wilson only 4 points in the first half. But what do the Aces do? They hang their hat on the defensive end. They've got role players. They've got players on the bench that can come in and make plays so that A'ja can get herself together and then dominate like the 3-time MVP that she is. There was no panic. The Aces showed they've been here before. They lost to Seattle 2 years ago in Game 1 of the semifinals, went on to win a championship. Last season, they win a championship in New York, down 2 starters. The Aces are just showing us they've been there. You know what it reminds me of too, Molly? You all were just talking about Patrick Mahomes, 2-time champion with the Chiefs, and he talked about the grit and character, and they've been there before. We're seeing that exact same thing with the Aces.
And they both got the same goal, going for the three-peat, right? Caitlin Clark struggled in her playoff debut. She shot 4-17 from the field, Drea, as the Fever dropped Game 1 to the Sun, 93-69. Do you think Caitlin and the Fever can turn it around in Game 2?
Oh, I do think Caitlin and the Fever will turn it around, meaning I think Caitlin will have a much more efficient day, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough to get a win. You have to give so much credit, Molly, to the Connecticut Sun. They came out with a game plan. Alyssa Thomas with a playoff triple-double. That's what she does. Marina Mabrey, who we talked about that trade on First Take when it happened. Marina Mabrey, 27 points off the bench. And DeWanna Bonner, who's won a championship before, that woman right there, they put DeWanna Bonner, who's 6'4", as the primary defender on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin hasn't seen that primary matchup yet this season. It's something she has to adjust to. We have to remember, Caitlin's just a rookie. This is a matchup she hasn't seen. I think she'll be better in Game 2. Do I think it'll be enough? I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, let's keep it rolling with the playoffs underway. Season awards have been handed out in the W, and to no one's surprise, Caitlin Clark was named unanimous Rookie of the Year by the Associated Press. Shay, we'll welcome the guys into the conversation here. How would you describe Caitlin Clark's season after being named unanimous Rookie of the Year by the AP?
Yeah, you know, for me...
Is this for me, Molly?
Or you go
Shannon, Shannon. Yeah,
go
ahead,
it's you. I think...
Shay.
Me?
Yes, sir. You, Shannon.
Oh, look, I don't think there's any surprise. I mean, she averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, scored the most points by a point guard in WNBA history. The most amazing thing is not the unanimous Rookie of the Year. It's she's first team all WNBA with the big dogs. She's on the team with A'ja Wilson. She's on the team with Stewie. Let that sink in. She's a rookie. And this is where she is. And Andraya makes some great points. DeWanna Bonner is 6'4" tall. She's lanky, she's angular. She can cause problems without fouling because she can cover a lot of ground. A lot of times, the guards that are guarding Caitlin, they're normally her height, maybe a little shorter. But when you got somebody like a DeWanna Bonner, who's 6'4" tall, who can slide, who's effortless, she kind of reminds you she's kind of built like a female version of Scottie Pippen. You see how long and angular she are? She can meet her at the point. She can contest shots without fouling. But look, Caitlin Clark had an unbelievable rookie season. I think a lot of people might be surprised by that. But you don't put up the numbers that she put up in college and not figure it out. She's a gym rat. You can tell she's a gym rat, and she was going to figure it out. She struggled. She's not the first rookie to struggle in their first playoff appearance. So I'm not surprised that she struggled. Give DeWanna Bonner a lot of credit for causing that struggle.
You know, for me, guys, it was a rookie masterclass. When you think about the statistics that Caitlin was able to put up, the way she was able to elevate her teammates. You have to think, Caitlin Clark comes in, the entire offense shifts. The entire offense gets faster. Kelsey Mitchell is running, and she is making plays. Aaliyah Boston's making plays. Lexi Hull, the entire team is elevated with the addition of Caitlin Clark. This is an organization that hadn't had a 20-win season since 2015, hasn't been in the playoffs since 2016. And when I talk about a rookie masterclass, yes, Caitlin had to figure it out. Yes, there were turnovers. Yes, there were lessons that she had to learn. but she stayed the course. This team started 1-8, and they all stayed the course. She allowed her teammates to lead her in certain moments and calm her down in certain moments while still playing the game and being herself out there on the floor, while also dealing with a ton of BS and noise off the court. Caitlin Clark can be used as a unit of measurement from here on out when it comes to noise around the game of basketball. We will be able to in the future say, well, this compares to what Caitlin Clark had to deal with because there was so much noise and she dealt with it and she handled it, and her team is in the playoffs. It is a master class when you think about the way she was able to perform this season as a rookie.
Well, the only level of opposition I would throw into the mix with what Andraya just said is that, you know what, no, I don't know if you noticed, Shay, she said hi to Molly. She didn't tell us hello, how are you? She said nothing to me.
Well, that was my surprise.
Just
Molly.
Molly. I mean, we just here. We just teed
we went straight into teeing up
It's all right. It's all right. No. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. I got it. I can't dispute Andraya. No, I'm going to mess with her. She know that with her snake-loving self. Here's the deal. I'm not literally snakes, ladies.
We're not even talking about me.
I understand that. We're not talking about you. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing that out. Let me say this. I love the point that you made about Caitlin Clark in terms of the BS that she had to deal with off the court. We got to remember she's been box office. She was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her. It was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with. The reason I bring that up, and I love that, because as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, put this in perspective. Caitlin Clark finished the regular season leading rookies in scoring, field goals made, three-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes played, and she led the league in assists and three-pointers made. Think about that for a second. And like Shannon says, ultimately, you first team, you one of those people. So we got and fourth in the league in MVP voting. Okay, fourth. So you got to give love where it's due. But oftentimes, when we take this, let's think about the comparisons we may make to people in other sports. People, when they talk about boxing, Andraya, Shay, Molly, they'll say Muhammad Ali was the greatest. Now, Floyd Mayweather might dispute that. Sugar Ray Leonard might dispute that. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, if he was still alive, God rest his soul, might dispute that, along with various others. But the reason why in the public eye, Ali was the greatest was because of the adversity. It's not to compare one to the other, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm simply pointing out that what goes on outside the court, the field, the ring of play per se, matters, because your mental becomes incredibly important. Now, in society in this day and age, we've paid more attention to the mental, more so than never before. Naomi Osaka and various others having to deal with what they've had to deal with. In some cases, some people succumbing to that stuff. This girl didn't do that. She elevated. She seemed to thrive. The second that we talked about her needing to be on Team USA, obviously all of us weren't in agreement with that. But you know what's undeniable? She's been better since the Olympic play was over, because she got that much-needed rest.
She got snubbed.
In fairness to Andraya, she got that much-needed rest going from college to the pros, not having any rest whatsoever, got a breather, got a chance to take a breath and churn that second engine to a degree. And what has she looked like since? She's looked absolutely marvelous, regardless of whatever noise has been out there. So when you show that you're able to perform in the face of adversity, to me, that is the true testament to greatness. And that's why we're looking at her and we're saying greatness is on the way.
Stephen A., I would be remiss if I didn't say this. A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie or Lauren Jackson or Diana Taurasi or Simone Augustus or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this. Nah, I ain't gonna let it slide. Caitlin Clark, unanimous Rookie of the Year. But what's even more impressive, she's first team WNBA. First.
You know, Shannon, I hear you, right? I hear you 100%. But another level of noise was coming from people. You were one of them who also tried to create a picture around Caitlin that the league was against her based on the actions of less than 5 former players or current players, which also creates a lot of noise. Like we saw during the All-Star game, the league and the players in this league like Caitlin. They enjoy Caitlin. They had so much fun with Caitlin. So there was noise created from every single angle around Caitlin. You're right about the noise. There were people trying to give credit to the past players, and I completely understand that. There were also people creating something out of nothing based on the actions of 1 or 2 players or based on the words of a former player that also didn't reflect how the entire league felt.
Hold on.
So we're still having a conversation, Stephen A., about noise. There was a lot of noise. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, Andraya. I don't think what Shannon said was pointing the finger directly at you, because I'll come
not me.
I'll come to your defense about that. But let me also make this a point. You're not entirely accurate with what you just said, because guess what? Whether it was Shannon, whether it was myself, we didn't paint a picture of the entire league. What we said was there was noise out there emanating from some, and those folks were very, very loud and conspicuous with their dissent towards things involving Caitlin Clark. When we pointed that out, we said why. What was the necessity for it? Because a rising tide lifts all boats. This woman is box office. Plus, she can play. And the combination of the two would ultimately give all of those wonderful ladies for the wonderful work that they had done over so many years. It would have been validated, even though it came through the conduit was her. Ultimately, it stood to benefit the collective whole. And rather than some out there accepting and embracing that, they resented it, and they tried to use the contributions of others who came before Caitlin Clark to justify their vitriol, instead of owning the fact that what really was their objective and what really was their agenda is that they resented the fact that this young lady who came into the league, took it by storm, and drew in a level of attention that they weren't able to draw. That was the reality.
One thing I want to say before we go to break, really quick, Dre. I think one of the impetuses, especially for this conversation, was obviously her not getting an Olympic roster spot, right? Remember, we had a big debate over that. Was she deserving of it? Was it more the marketing, the hype? And here's what I'll say, and I know, Andraya, that you agree. At that point, some of us felt like maybe she hadn't proved it in the WNBA, but at this point, she certainly has. So she proved everybody wrong.
What about the guards? Let's talk about the guards that didn't make it. Talk about the guards that didn't make it. How did they play, Andraya? Because you were one of the ones that say she didn't earn it. How did the guards play that was in the Olympics? How did they play?
For sure, but we can't take how Caitlin finished the W season and pivot that to how she would have done in the Olympics. That's a completely different argument. Saying is, look
at that point. Look at how she played up until that point. Chelsea Gray had only played 1 game before she went to the Olympics. She was out playing Diana Taurasi. Was she outplaying Diana Taurasi at that point in time that she was on the team? It's a simple yes or a simple no.
Was Caitlin outplaying Diana Taurasi? But you can't just factor in current play, Shannon. That's all I'm saying. You got to factor in. Well, if you're factoring in Diana Taurasi's Olympic experience, Diana Taurasi's how she was with the team.
Shannon, hold on 1 second. Shannon,
this ain't a lifetime, an Olympic lifetime achievement.
Shannon Sharpe, hold on 1 second. What we're saying is you guys were right. That's what we're saying. You
no, Molly, you did not say that, Molly. No,
that is what you said.
That's not what you said, Molly.
What are you guys
that is not what you said.
I literally just brought it up.
You were talking about folks making the point that, at the time that they had picked the Olympic team, Caitlin Clark didn't necessarily deserve it based on her play on the court. When the point that Shannon and I was making at the time was that, wait a minute, in the end, there are people that have ended up on Team USA for reasons other than just their elite play at that particular moment in time.
She was a marketing whiz. Right. And she was everyone right, because she is a marketing whiz, and she did it on the court. That's what I'm saying.
We were saying,
no,
Molly.
So you were ahead of the curve.
You're not listening, Molly. You're not listening. I'm talking about your point, Molly. Your point.
And I'm explaining it to you.
At the end of the day, we were making the point, do you want to promote the league or not? And people like Andraya and others were resistant to that playing a role in somebody making the roster for Team USA. And we were saying, hell with that. You want to promote the sport. You put that girl up in there. And people were appalled at that notion. That was the subject.
But Stephen A., this is just going to come from different perspectives, because you all's initial point was a marketing point, and that was what I was arguing with. That was what I was arguing with, the marketing point for Caitlin. What Molly is trying to say, and what I agree with, is now that we have seen how Caitlin finished this season, there is a good basketball argument for her being on the team, for her making the team. There is now a great basketball argument. But listen, no, Shannon, listen. How she's playing right now, you just said it 5 minutes ago, was a testament to the rest that she had and the break that she had. We don't know how she would have played without that break. So we're saying Caitlin has now proven herself basketball-wise, but you all weren't making a basketball argument. You weren't making a basketball argument.
We're not saying we were making a basketball argument.
Andrea, I'm not going to let you do that.
Go ahead,
Andrea, I'm not going to let you make it seem like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points a game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points and this was like a handout.
No, it wasn't a handout.
Look at her numbers. Look at her numbers comparable to the other guards that were on the team. That's all I'm saying.
No. I hear you, but when I talked to members of the Olympic Committee, the questions were of fatigue, of rest, and of the physicality and FIBA rules, and of lack of continuity with Team USA, which were things that she did not have. I'm not disputing Caitlin's greatness on the court. That's not what I'm disputing at all. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm not disputing her play.
We got to go to commercial. Let's come back.
There were other factors.
Let's come back. Hold on. We got to go. No. We got to go to commercial. Shake. Come back. Let's come back. Let's go to commercial.
Go ahead.
Come back. Let's come back to this. I got more to say about this.
Yes. Come on.
Tomorrow on ESPN.
Vince Carter Raptor slams of all time, and we'll explain why next as NBA Today gets started. I think it's fair to say that one award, it's been over for a while. A'ja Wilson is the best player in the W, and she was named the MVP unanimously on Sunday. Only the second player ever to achieve that feat. Welcome to NBA Today. Coming to you live from our Seaport studios, brought to you by Chase. I'm Malika Andrews alongside Monica McNutt. David Dennis Jr. is here as well. Zach Lowe, Tim McMahon. They're going to be joining us in just a little bit. But Sunday, Monica, it started with an MVP announcement, but we were quickly into the WNBA playoffs, so we start our show right there because A'ja Wilson had a long day. It ended with the final game of the night, hosting the Storm in Las Vegas here. Of course, early on, though, A'ja Wilson celebrating with her teammates as she gets that trophy. She did struggle a little bit out the gate here, Monica. 1 of 8 shooting in the first quarter.
In the first quarter, Malika, the Seattle Storm did a great job of making shots very difficult for her and this Aces squad at large. But when they began to settle down, things changed.
First up here, though, Jewel Lloyd finds Nneka Ogwumike in the middle for the layup inside. The Storm actually outscored the Aces 18-9 in the first. Vegas only shot 2 of 18 from the floor. But as you mentioned, Monica, in the third, things started to change a little bit, particularly for A'ja Wilson.
At halftime in the interview with LaChina Robinson and Angel Gray, Becky Hammond talked about her team shooting difficult shots and needing to move the basketball and allow their defense to find energy. That's exactly what happened, and you see the MVP.
Yeah, that's why she is the 3-time MVP. Wilson would shoot 7 of 10 from the field in the third. She amassed 15 points for the Aces. They trailed by 1 heading into the fourth quarter. You can see her shot chart here. That is a whole lot of green, letting it fly. So let's head to the fourth quarter here. In the fourth, it really was, Monica, all Las Vegas. They enter trailing by 1.
Look, once Kelsey Plum gets going downtown, Chelsea Gray was already having a terrific basketball game. Tiffany Hayes was fantastic as well. The ball began to move in a way that is signature to the last 2 championships that the Aces took home.
And then see right there in the top left of your screen, we're going to keep counting just for you because the Aces, they were in control. Chelsea Gray hits the step back there. And then for those counting, 12-2 run. Gray, once again, hits that turnaround jumper. The Aces outscore Seattle 14-2 in the fourth and go on to take game 1. Let's take a listen to postgame.
Sometimes you just got to get it out the mud. And I love doing that because it keeps my mind going. I think my teammates just continue to, never let me doubt myself. So, and I sometimes do doubt myself. And they always pick me up. So they kept beating me the ball. And then that's when I just started to calm down. I think I was rushing a lot in the first half because I'm like, oh, it's there. Let me just go ahead and attack. This is it. But once in the second half, the game kind of just settled down for me, and I really started to dissect the defense and what they were doing. And then that was kind of when I got rocking and rolling.
Well, the Aces have been rocking and rolling at home for a while now. They've won 10 straight home playoff games over the last 3 seasons. That's 1 shy of tying that WNBA record. The streak started after a loss to the Storm, coincidentally, in the 2022 semifinals. So, Monica, I feel like I've been asking this question for months now, and I'm going to ask it to you again now that we've actually seen them in the playoffs. A three-peat is on everybody's mind. Yeah. What stood out to you in their pursuit of that?
Well, I think it was them getting back to their defensive identity. Okay. As much as we have talked about the Aces in terms of their firepower, what Asia is doing, what their core has the ability to do, for Becky Hammond, it's been all about the defense being able to create the offense. In a 14-2 run, there is no better embodiment of defense allowing you to turn on your offense. But I also think it is huge the way Chelsea Gray is starting to play. Even in the first quarter, you could see her energy shift, her intensity ramp up, and the Aces were able to follow. If their point guard, as we call her, is locked in, they look like a completely different team, and the postseason pedigree is starting to show.
What do you think, David?
Yeah, I'm with Monica here on the Chelsea Gray part to start. There's been a lot of talk about how, her coming off of that injury and what that meant for this team this season. She struggled a little bit, but this is playoff Chelsea Gray. This is the person who went on an all-time heater 2 years ago to lead this team to a championship, and she saved this game from getting out of hand in that second quarter when she saw that A'ja Wilson was struggling. But again, back to Monica's first point. This is championship level effort in that fourth quarter. They turned off the water for that Seattle squad, holding them to no field goals made. That's the fewest amount of points that they've had since they've gone to quarters in the WNBA. 6 turnovers and 2 points. It's never a good sign when you have 3 more turnovers than you do points in a quarter, and that is all about the Aces and what they did defensively.
Right. There's been times throughout the season where we've sort of said, okay, are they complacent? Do they feel good about winning 2 championships? And now this is maybe the season where we're going to see them come back down to earth a little bit. But watching them play in this game, Monica, are they starting to look like the team that went 8-1 and ran through the playoffs last year?
I would say so for sure. They don't have the depth that we saw them have that was crucial, particularly last year when they were down 2 starters and still managed to close out the final game in New York in Game 4. But the thing to me is, the path gets steeper quicker this year. Seattle, they're going to make adjustments. This is not going to be a gimme game in Game 2. They are missing Ezzie McMcGraw, who's been important to them. But if the Aces get through this one, they're most likely going to run into the Liberty in the next round. And so there is no time to play around. You've got to lock in and be playing your best basketball. But Chelsea Gray has said it all season. And we had a chance to talk to her after they hit a skid earlier this season prior to the Olympic break. She's like, look, you want to be playing your best basketball in the fall. And she clearly is doing that and will lead the way.
Yeah, to me, this is about A'ja Wilson completing what is maybe the best 24 months that we've seen from any basketball player ever. If you look at where we were 2 years ago, we're talking about 2, maybe 3 NBA championships, a finals MVP, 2 regular season MVPs, defensive player of the year, gold medal, best player in the Olympics. Well, I don't even know what else. I don't know if she sold the most Girl Scout cookies last year or something. She's just racking up awards that are beyond comprehension right now. And I cannot think of in any sport, in any basketball sport, NBA, WNBA, somebody putting together that many accolades in the course of 24 months.
Well, and to your point, when you have accolades the way that A'ja Wilson has racked them up, there's not just one segment that is dedicated to you 100%. On this show. We are going to be getting back to A'ja Wilson, but I do want to just whip around some of the other W playoff action that got underway, starting So we have talked about just how difficult of an opponent the Sun are. Clark made just 2 of her 13 three-point attempts in Game 1, which comes out to just over 15%. That's the second worst three-point shooting percentage in WNBA postseason history out of the 75 games where a player took at least 10 three-pointers here. But this is what happens when you're a lower seed, and this is a physical game. What did you see, Monica, in Clark's debut and what the Sun posed here?
Look, you got to understand that the Connecticut Sun have been a top 3, if not the #1 defensive team in the WNBA consistently 4 out of the last 5 seasons. Now, mind you, this was also the game that Caitlin Clark opened the season with. DeJounte Carrington is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year as a guard position, and she didn't even start with the primary assignment. It was DeWanna Bonner with that tremendous length. Stephanie White and those guys cooked up a scheme that was designed to cut the fever off at their head, and their head is Caitlin Clark. Now, Caitlin has a track record of when she has low-scoring games, which we haven't seen many of, she bounces back with plus 25-point performances.
Right. She's a little bit of a Rubik's Cube player there, trying to sort of figure it out, David.
Yeah, out of all the teams in WNBA, the Connecticut Sun are the most uniquely designed to defend Caitlin Clark. They can throw length at her with Bonner, who really threw her off her game. I don't think people expected that defensive matchup. She was 0 for 4 to start the game with Bonner, and then she started to press a little bit, which allows DeJounte to start to guard other players. And she had Kelsey Mitchell also in a straitjacket. They were combined 4 for 23 from 3. That Connecticut Sun team is going to pressure you and tire you out and wear you out on offense. And they made the shots difficult for Caitlin Clark. So when she got open shots, she was still missing, and they made those passes really difficult to complete. 8 assists is not too shabby, but she had, she was not able to orchestrate the offense the way that she usually does because the way the Sun were really frustrating her.
Really quick, y'all, the other thing that is key to what the Fever want to do, they play with tremendous pace. The pick and roll action between Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is also a foundational piece of their offense. It may not always be hitting AB on the roll. Sometimes it's spraying out. But Brianna Jones is a terrific defender within paint. And so that pick and roll didn't look as smooth as they are accustomed to. So there are a number of matchups, to David's point, not just Caitlin Clark. There's a number of matchups that the Connecticut Sun can put on them important players.
And for now, the Sun have a 1-0 lead. Connecticut looks to bounce back. Hey, we're not done talking about the W and the playoffs here, but can you believe we're also less than 1 month away from opening night in the NBA? Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Our experts are going to predict 3 teams that are on the rise. New York Knicks center Mitchell Robinson, who played in just 31 games last season and is coming off 2 procedures on his left ankle. He will not be ready for the start of the season. That's what league sources confirmed to our NBA reporter Tim Bontemps, leaving an already thin center spot even thinner for New York. So the aforementioned Tim Bontemps is joining us now. Tim, what exactly is the latest on Robinson's recovery here?
So yeah, Malika, Mitchell Robinson had off-season surgery on this left ankle, an issue he's been dealing with going back to last December when he had an injury that cost him most of the regular season. He only played 31 games, you see here on the screen. And then he came back for a few games in the playoffs before he landed awkwardly here and suffered another injury of that left leg. And after going through the surgery, trying to rehab in the summertime, he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. As you said, this is a real concern for the Knicks. They lost Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency this summer. He signed a 3-year, $87 million deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder, becoming their starting center, at least on a part-time basis, alongside Chet Holmgren. And for the Knicks, who have Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims as their only other true centers on the roster, and Achiuwa is a small center at that, this is not exactly the kind of deployment of resources that Tom Thibodeau, a guy who's typically got a rim-protecting center on the court at all times, is used to having coming into the season. For a team with the expectations of this Knicks group, Malika, it's going to be something to monitor over the opening couple of months of the season for sure.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of names there, Tim. How exactly, though, do the Knicks plan on filling that center spot in Robinson's absence, particularly early on here?
Well, I think the first thing you'll expect to see is a lot of Precious Achiuwa, who came over in the OG Anunoby trade. Everybody talked about the acquisition of Anunoby, obviously got the massive $200 million 5-year deal this summer to return to the Knicks. But Achiuwa re-signed on a $6 million contract